The other friars grew used to the sounds, but they never slept easy. From cell number 5, in the monastery of San Giovanni Rotondo, came noises that didn't belong. Not prayers, not chanting. It sounded like a back-alley brawl, like furniture being thrown, like flesh hitting stone, and sometimes, through the thick wooden door, they would hear a voice, low and full of hate, whispering temptations and threats. The next morning, they would find Father Pio exhausted, covered in bruises, his face swollen and bleeding. When they asked him what happened, his answer was always the same, delivered with a chilling calm. The devil paid me a visit. This wasn't a metaphor. This wasn't a psychological struggle. This was the true story of a saint who physically fought the devil and his demons, nearly every single night, for over 50 years. So who was this man who attracted such violent, supernatural attention? Francesco Forgione, later known as Padre Pio, was not an ordinary priest. From a young age, he was marked by things that defied explanation. He could bilocate, appearing in 2 places at once. He could read the souls of penitents in the confessional, revealing sins they were too ashamed to speak. And most famously, he bore the stigmata, the 5 wounds of Christ's crucifixion, bleeding openly on his hands, feet, and side for half a century. These gifts made him a spiritual magnet for millions. But they also made him a target. In the economy of heaven and hell, a soul like his was a grand prize. The forces of darkness saw a man who was single-handedly pulling thousands back to God, and they decided he had to be stopped, by any means necessary. And if you find these stories of spiritual warfare fascinating, make sure you subscribe, because we explore the most incredible true stories that history tries to forget. It didn't start with beatings. The attacks were subtle at first. In his letters to his spiritual director, Padre Pio described the initial assaults as temptations of the mind, unholy thoughts, doubts about his faith, images of despair. When that didn't work, the enemy changed tactics. He described diabolical vexations, loud, unexplained noises in his cell. His inkwell would fly across the room. His letters would be snatched from his hands. It was a war of attrition, designed to break his spirit and shatter his peace. But Pio was made of something stronger. He clung to his rosary. He prayed without ceasing. He refused to give in. And that refusal, that iron will, is what finally provoked the devil to shed his invisibility and engage in open, physical warfare. The devil is the father of lies, and his greatest lie is his form. Padre Pio wrote that the demons rarely appeared in their true, monstrous shapes. That would be too easy to recognize. Instead, they came in disguise. They appeared as a giant, ferocious black cat. They took the form of a young, naked woman, dancing seductively to tempt his vow of chastity. They would even appear as his own spiritual director, or the provincial superior, giving him false orders to try and trick him into disobedience. The most blasphemous disguises were the most painful. The demons would sometimes appear cloaked in light, masquerading as Jesus, the Virgin Mary, or Saint Francis. But Pio, through grace, could always tell. He said the false apparitions of Jesus left him feeling cold and empty, while a true vision filled him with peace and joy. He learned to see past the mask, and every time he did, the demon's fury would erupt. When the tricks and temptations failed, raw violence was the only option left. The beatings were terrifyingly real. Pio described being thrown against the walls, dragged from his bed, and struck with such force that he would spit up blood. He wrote, "They have been beating me since yesterday evening. They presented themselves under the most abominable forms. They have beaten me, They have thrown me out of bed. They have even torn my shirt. The other friars could only listen, helpless, to the sounds of the battle. They would hear the sickening thud of blows and Pio's cries to Jesus and Mary. In the morning, they would find him in a state that no man could inflict upon himself. His bones ached. His body was a canvas of purple and black bruises, and yet he would drag himself to the altar to say, Mass. He offered his physical suffering for the conversion of sinners. Every blow he took, he believed, was one less soul lost to the very creatures that tormented him. But he was not entirely alone in this fight. While the demons assaulted him, heaven sent him an ally. Padre Pio had a remarkably close and constant relationship with his guardian angel. He referred to him as his companion of my infancy and the little friend. This angel was not just a passive presence. After a particularly violent night, the angel would come to comfort him, soothing his physical and spiritual wounds. Pio even used his angel as a celestial messenger. People would tell their own guardian angels to go tell Padre Pio a message, and incredibly, Pio would receive it. Even more amazing, when Pio received letters in French or Greek, languages he couldn't read, his angel would translate them for him. This heavenly friendship was his lifeline, a constant reminder that for all the power hell could throw at him, heaven's power was infinitely greater. This is the question that hangs over the entire story. Why? Why would a loving God allow his chosen servant to suffer such horrific, sustained attacks? The answer lies in a deep and mysterious Catholic theology of redemptive suffering. Padre Pio was what is known as a victim soul, one who voluntarily accepts suffering in union with Christ's passion for the salvation of others. He saw his nightly battles not as a curse, but as a calling. He was fighting on the spiritual front lines for souls in danger. Every bruise he endured, every temptation he resisted, was a spiritual victory that won grace for someone else, perhaps someone on the other side of the world on their deathbed. God didn't cause the suffering, but he allowed Pio to enter the fight, using his faithfulness as a weapon to defeat evil and reclaim souls that were on the brink of being lost forever. How do we know all this? Because Padre Pio, under orders from his spiritual directors, documented it. His letters are the primary source, a veritable logbook from a spiritual war zone. To Father Agostino, he wrote, "The devil does not want to lose this battle. He takes on all forms. For several days now he has been visiting me with some of his satellites armed with clubs and iron weapons. These weren't the writings of a madman. They were the clear, sober reports of a priest to his superior. His directors knew him, they examined him, and they concluded that his experiences were legitimate. The physical evidence was undeniable. Other priests, like Father Raffaelli, testified to hearing the indescribable noises and finding Pio's cell in shambles. The proof wasn't just in his words. It was written in the bruises on his body and the splintered wood of his cell. The devil's goal was never just to inflict pain. Pain was a tool. The true objective was to stop Padre Pio's ministry, specifically, to stop him from sitting in the confessional. For 10, 12, sometimes 15 hours a day, Pio would sit in that small wooden box and hear the confessions of people from all over the world. With his supernatural gift of reading souls, he could see directly what was holding people back, what sins were destroying them. He reconciled thousands of souls to God. Each confession was a soul snatched directly from the devil's grasp. That is what the devil feared. Not the man, but the priest acting as a conduit for God's mercy. The nightly beatings were a desperate, furious attempt to make him too sick, too tired, too afraid to continue. But every morning, he got up, put on his vestments, and went back into the confessional. He never let the devil win. Padre Pio died in 1968, but the story of his battles echoes to this day. It serves as a stark and often uncomfortable reminder that evil is not an abstract concept. It's a real, personal force that actively works against humanity. But Pio's story is ultimately not one of darkness, but of incredible light. It shows that no matter how powerful the assault, faith, prayer, and a refusal to surrender can overcome anything. He proved that one man, united with God, can face down hell itself and emerge victorious. His life is a testament to the fact that the spiritual world is real, the fight for souls is real, and the love of God is the ultimate weapon. What do you think? Could such a thing happen today? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.